Today, I'd like to share with you a simple exercise that you can do whenever you feel like it, where you can set some time aside and just sit down and return to your essential seeing, essential being, knowing, without taking any step seemingly outside of it. Okay? And by doing this exercise, by devoting some time to this exercise every now and then, you will see that then throughout the day, even while you're at work or you're maybe engaged in some conversation with family or friends, this capacity to be the seeing rather than instantly identifying with any thought or emotion that arises, this will be greater. This will be heightened. So it's very, very simple. Just place yourself in a room where you won't be disturbed, and perhaps even set like 30 minutes on the clock or something, where for that 30 minutes, nothing matters. Your goals don't matter. Your family doesn't matter. Your concerns don't matter. Your doubts have no meaning. Your fears have no value. Your desires mean nothing. This already, for some of you, is probably bringing up so much resistance. Like, how can I put all that stuff aside? And you see, because there's such a great clinging to that stuff, silence seems like an impossible task. So, dwell in all that stuff in your life, fine. But for the sake of this exercise, you are being given the permission. I am giving you the permission to give yourself the permission to place all that stuff aside just for the time being. It won't go anywhere. It's not in jeopardy. So you're giving yourself the permission here and now to be free of all that stuff, all that resistance, attachment, fear, desire, care. And you're just sitting down, and your only objective is to see what arises. Because even if you put all that stuff aside, right? You sit down, the moment you have nothing to do, you're not engaged in any activity, and you're just sitting, automatically mind will arise with so many things. Because it's got to keep you in that activity, you know? Otherwise, you might discover something great. So instantly, the moment you sit down, mind just comes up with a bunch of stuff. Your job is to acknowledge that and automatically recognize that there's an awareness of that. So right now, the moment you sit down, a concern may arise that, I don't know if this is the best time to do this. I probably should have done this later. Instead of caring for that concern or dwelling in that thought, just automatically realize that there's a knowing of that thought. There's a seeing of it. And just be the seeing. No further step outward. And watch that concern automatically dissolve. Something may still be holding on to that. But notice how even that there's an awareness of. Even that is observed. And so let that go too. And so you just stay here. You rest as the seeing, as the knowing, as the awareness. Now automatically something else may come up. Probably talking about dinner later. Or how the body feels right now. Or perhaps it's a great fear of, am I ignoring my thoughts? Is this not right? So notice your tendency to care about what the mind is saying. And it's saying something you totally did not choose to think right now. And it's saying anything. It literally cooks up anything, and you're just like a little monkey. You just go towards that. Acknowledge this tendency. And acknowledge again that once again, you have given yourself the permission, just for now, to not care about what the mind is saying, to not mind what the mind is saying. to not be involved. Permission to totally be empty of all concern, of all doubt. Doubts and fears and concerns, they're still arising. That's fine. That's just the conditioning of mind. It's just habit. But here and now, you have completely severed off any interest or connection to those doubts and concerns. So the moment they arise, even if this one thought says, but how do I put aside my thoughts? It's dangerous. Instead of being so interested in what it is saying, acknowledge instantly that there is an awareness of it, that even this is observed. And rest as the seeing of it. Be the knowing of it. Acknowledge that the knowing of that thought is not itself offering any commentary, is not itself talking about that thought. If it seems to be talking, acknowledge that even that talking, there's a knowing of. So no matter how intimate this talking feels, you are the knowing of it. You are prior to it, subtler than it, independent of it. You see its coming and going, arising and subsiding. As what do you see the mind, and with its many little concerns? This is a very important question. As what do you see? As what do you know? As what are you aware here and now? And please don't wait till later to practice this. It is here and now. So again, as soon as those concerns arise, just acknowledge the very seeing, the very knowing of it, which is very natural, very effortless. I am not making an effort to know. So just rest as the seeing. And so you see, you got time on the clock. You're just sitting here. You're just being. And for this amount of time, even though we're doing this in a little mental way, right? It still will help. For this amount of time, I have complete permission to let everything just to the side and just be as I really am. Now, for some of you, you may notice that even the acknowledgement of knowing, of being aware, the moment you acknowledge it, automatically you're caught up in some other thought activity. And again, you keep falling into thought activity and just dwelling in the thinkingness, identifying as the thinker. So that's fine too. The moment that it is acknowledged, that is your moment. That is your moment to recognize how you keep falling into it. And rather than judging, because see, that judgment that arises, that, oh my God, I have fallen into thinking, I suck at this, I will never get this. That voice right there, is that not also observed? Is the knowing of that voice offering any judgment? So be the knowing. In any moment of recognition, regardless of how many times you fall into thinking, just acknowledge. Acknowledge and be the knowing. If automatically something goes into judging, again, acknowledge. If you're judging for 5 minutes and you just realize, oh my God, I've been judging for 5 minutes, it's fine. Stop right there. Acknowledge that there's a knowing of it. And this knowing did not fade away when the judging was going on. So this is something also very, very major. From your point of view, the knowing fades in and out. But what you're waking up to now, what you're acknowledging now, is that the knowing remains. It is in the knowing which the fading in and out of knowing is also recognized. So this deeper knowing, you already are. Because it is you who tell me this experience, that there was this knowing. I was completely unconscious for this much time and I was dwelling. So you identify as an object in the knowing. And I'm here pointing you to the fact that from where do you know this? If not from that very knowing, from that very awareness. So just the moment you acknowledge, no matter how long after a lot of thinking that may be, just acknowledge this and establish your position as the knowing. And no matter how many times you fall into thinking, the moment of remembrance, reestablish yourself in your true position. Just sit. Don't have to close your eyes. Just sit and be. And notice the mind trying to constantly jump at things, to describe things, to interpret things, to talk about later and talk about past. And just don't give it that food. Don't give it that energy. Don't give it that attention. How? By simply acknowledging the awareness of it. The moment you acknowledge the awareness of mind, rather than focusing on the thought, you acknowledge that this thought is observed, that there's an awareness of mind. You become aware that there's an awareness. In that moment, attention automatically collapses, and you just are as you are, without being this or that. You're just being. Now just remain. Knowingly acknowledge, I am aware. Let mind rise again and again and again. Does not matter. We're not rejecting the mind. We're letting it do what it wants. We're simply acknowledging that there's an awareness of it. The problem is not the mind. The problem is your automatic belief and identification with it. And by just acknowledging your true position again and again and again, this tendency to automatically identify starts to dissolve. And your true position as the seeing, as the knowing, becomes more natural and effortless. And from here, mind is not a problem. Mind is only a problem if there's a belief in everything that it says. If there's a belief in it as my voice. So just be as you are. See from your true position. Even the very awareness, like knowing that I know, mind is going to arise and try to offer commentary on that. Oh, am I doing this correctly? Is this the correct way of doing it? Or is this how it feels like? Acknowledge even there's a knowing of even that. You need not go into figuring out right now. You need not go into breaking down right now. You need not go into worrying about if you're doing it right or wrong right now. Just acknowledge that there's a knowing of all that arises. There's a knowing of it arising and subsiding, coming and going. Don't be so interested in what comes and goes. Don't be so interested in even the coming and going of it. Only be interested here and now. You're giving yourself the permission to only be interested in the very knowing itself. Be the knowing. I know. The simple little practice will greatly help you. There is no excuse to not practice this, you see. Any concern you can cook up is just another concern that in this practice we are completely discarding. And you will see that in this way you will yourself stop being controlled, manipulated by these mental concerns, which are not real, which keep you in a state of fear, which keep you in a state of mind identification. It is the mind that continuously arises and tells you that the mind needs to be tended to. And you buy into all of this. And this is what this exercise will help you completely dissolve. This unconscious tendency to believe this unconscious tendency to identify with objects of awareness. So give yourself the gift to practice this. Best of luck. Lastly, before I go, if you need help with this, you can check out my self-inquiry workshop. It's brand new. It will greatly help you with the practice of self-inquiry. And if you really need the constant guidance and support and you want to work personally with me, you can also check out my Higher Consciousness Shift program. All the details are in the description box below. Check it out, see if it resonates with you. I really hope this video helps you. So rather than getting caught up in your concerns, just go practice. Be as you are. See you next time.